I've never seen something like this before. Dave Smith just took the kid gloves off and went straight after Don Lemon for his string of failed interviews, both while he was at CNN and afterwards. And perhaps the most embarrassing interview for Don still remains the one with Elon Musk, and Dave Smith couldn't resist sharing a laugh with Joe Rogan at just how wrong the interview went. Just watch this before I dive into it.
You're also friends with the cool billionaires.
Yeah.
You know, like you managed to find the cool ones.
Well, Elon's the coolest. He's my favorite billionaire. That dude's wild. He's a wild boy. I will buy Teslas as long as they sell them, just to support that dude.
Just to keep Twitter going.
And they're dope. But yeah, just to support him, man. You God damn it, you need an Elon Musk in this world. You need a wild boy. You need a dude who's got $200 billion who dunks on people.
Dude, how great was watching him realize in real time how stupid Don Lemon is?
Oh my God.
Like you could actually see on his face as he's asking the questions, and he's like, well, if you lower standards, then you're going to get more incompetence. And Don Lemon's like, so you're saying black people aren't competent? And he's like, no, that's not. And he slowly starts to realize like, oh, I have 80 IQ points on this guy.
That was harsh. Don Lemon in the last few years has become emblematic of the old and fading style of journalism that's losing favor with the public, and it's often driven by a kind of vendetta where the interview is more like an interrogation. By the way, do subscribe and hit the notification bell for more discussions like this. Remember his interview with Vivek Ramaswamy as one of the last on CNN? The unabashed race baiting in the conversation is what got him eventually fired, only for him to try and fail in bringing it to the online world. In fact, the disastrous interview he did with Elon Musk was probably the final nail in the coffin of his potentially lucrative deal with the X platform for an exclusive content partnership, since Elon Musk directed the company to drop the idea and asked the company to make it clear in a tweet that no such exclusive deal would be happening. And I know Dave Smith is chalking it up to more of an intellectual difference, but you even start to see some arguments from bad faith and typical journalist tricks that probably turned Elon Musk off to the prospect. But I want you to watch Joe Rogan's response for the full context before I show you some heated moments from that interview itself.
It's not just that. He said a very important point. He said that Don Lemon was doing CNN outside of CNN.
Yep.
And you don't have to do that. You just don't, nobody wants that anymore.
I'd say you can't do that. It's not going to work.
It's not going to work. But more importantly, you shouldn't do it because it's not good for you. Just be a human. Don't be this thing, this journalistic probing bullshit thing that's trying to spin a narrative. Actually have a conversation with this human. Yep. You will probably agree with a lot of the things he says. You will understand his perspective, even if you disagree. You could see how an intelligent person would come to this conclusion. This is how we can talk to each other now.
And there's a humility that's relatable, which unfortunately you won't find in the mainstream media, who's too preoccupied with being correct or the first, rather than having genuine dialogue. In the case of CNN, it's not just someone like Don Lemon, but also Chris Cuomo, who has axed from the program much earlier. In both of those cases, whether it be the needlessly contentious interviews that Don Lemon was doing, or Chris Cuomo allegedly favoring his brother against accusations, it was a hit to the reputation that quickly shrunk the space for them on the mainstream, only to have them struggle and splash to stay afloat in the alternative media landscape. That sounds a lot like your fiat money when it's not backed up by precious metals. To get a stronger financial footing with the help of Birch Gold, click the link in the description or text the word FFIRA to 989898. To get started. Now watch this timeless interview to know exactly what I'm talking about with Don Lemon.
Do you think if you moderated yourself more, if there was better content moderation on the platform, that you wouldn't have to answer these questions from reporters about the great replacement theory as it relates to Democrats,
have to answer these questions.
The great replacement theory as it relates to Jewish people? Do you think that?
I don't have to answer questions from reporters. Don, the only reason I'm doing this interview is because you're on the X platform and you asked for it. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, I would not do this interview.
So you don't think? Do you think that you wouldn't get in trouble or you wouldn't be criticized for these things?
I'm criticized constantly. I could care less.
You don't care?
No, I don't.
Why not?
I don't think people should care what the media thinks about them.
So two things here that reveal just how stultified Don Lemon's mind is into thinking along the lines of the media mainstream. Content moderation, when you're doing it for a few TV shows or news articles a day on a channel, is one thing, and when you think you can moderate hundreds of millions of social media posts is a whole other. The latter requires a massive bureaucracy and workforce to round up posts, scrutinize them, and delete them. That's not the business that X is in. And secondly, facing criticism is an extremely low bar for making someone engage in that kind of moderation of a social media platform, unlike a news organization that is directly impacted by how it's perceived. Now the interview took a turn for the worse for Don Lemon when he thought it'd be a good idea to bring up offensive internet memes as a way to make his point for censorship and moderation. Just take a look at this.
These posts should have been deleted, so why haven't they been deleted? Why are they still there?
We delete things if they are illegal.
But these have been up there for a while.
Are they illegal?
They're not illegal, but they're hateful, and they can lead to violence. As I just read to you, the shooters, in all of these mass shootings, attributed social media to radicalizing.
So
them.
Don, you love censorship, is what you're saying.
No, I don't love censorship.
Then why are you asking?
I believe in moderation, but I don't believe in
censorship. Moderation is a propaganda word for censorship.
But don't you think free speech is one thing, right? Or not,
Look, if something's illegal, we're going to take it down. If it's not illegal, then we're putting our thumb on the scale and we're being censors. Do you want censorship? And I don't.
No, I don't want censorship at all.
Yes, you do.
No, I want responsibility.
You desperately want censorship.
No, if I want a censorship...
You want censorship so bad you can taste it.
No, that's not true. It's not true. I think that there's right and wrong.
What's so hard to understand there? Elon Musk wants to draw the line at what's legal. Don Lemon wants to draw the line at what he thinks is hateful. But free speech is meaningless unless it includes speech you detest, and that's part of the vision of the public square of global conversations that Elon Musk has for X. Let me know in the comments if you think X as a platform has lived up to that vision for you so far, but perhaps this is where Musk started to understand that this conversation was going nowhere and had made up his mind about Don's X deal. But that's clearly not the first time that someone from the mainstream media has done such a disastrous job at interviewing Elon Musk. Just a few months ago prior to this, we saw the BBC try and lure Elon into a trap-laden interview where he came more prepared than they were.
Can you name one example?
I honestly don't use. Honestly, I don't.
You can't name a single example.
I'll tell you why. Because I don't actually use that For You feed anymore. Because I just don't particularly like it.
But you said
actually, a lot of people are quite similar. I only look at
hang on
my
a second.
following.
You said you've seen more hateful content, but you can't name a single example, not even one.
I'm not sure I've used that feed for the last 3 or 4 weeks. And
then how did you see the hateful content?
Because I've been using Twitter since you've taken it over for the last 6 months.
Okay, so then you must have at some point seen the For You hateful content. And I'm asking for one example.
Right.
And you can't give a single one.
And I'm saying...
I say, sir, that you don't know what you're talking about.
Really?
Yes, because you can't give me a single example of hateful content, not even one tweet. And yet you claimed that the hateful content was high.
Well...
That's a false.
No, what I claimed...
You just lied.
What? No.
We're probably going to see more examples of this as much of the mainstream media that seems tone deaf to what the public really wants tries to make a foray into the digital sphere. This interview with Elon Musk is just one example, and it certainly gives people like Dave Smith and Joe Rogan a lot to talk about. Maybe that's because the MSM's failures to adapt to this new digital world expose every time why it's failing in the first place. And it often ends in moments of friction or comedy that ends up becoming important relics of this transitional phase in the media.